Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I'd like to welcome and thank everyone for coming in tonight. Our first item our first item would be roll call.
Mrs. Farmer?
Here.
Henning?
Here.
Gorman?
Here.
Merkel?
Here.
Kelly? Here. Bachman?
Here.
And Stevens.
Here. And the next item on the agenda is our clerk's report. Clerk?
Okay, you have before you the minutes of the March 7th, 2024 meeting.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve as written by Mr. Gorman, second by Ms. Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let the record show that passed unanimously. Two things next that are on our agenda. One, I want to throw out a little housekeeping issue that I want to start next week, not this week. It's been brought to my attention that we have an ordinance against hats in the room. You can leave them on for tonight. I'm not worried about it. When I take a hat off, I get bad hat hair. So leave them on, but it is in our council bylaws, and I really didn't realize that, but so we'll kind of start that next week. I love the hats, by the way. The next item on our agenda is we do have the need for an executive session. So we're going to ask that you stay in your seats, and we'll go in the back, and then we'll be back shortly. So is there a motion?
We need to
I'm
state the
sorry.
purpose, which is to, for matters pertaining to labor negotiations.
Okay, is there a motion to go into executive session?
I move for a short executive session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gorman, second by Mr. Farmer. Can I have a roll call, please?
Farmer?
Yes.
Henning?
Yes.
Gorman?
Yes.
Merkel?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Bachman?
Yes.
And Stevens.
Yes. So just sit tight. We'll be right back. Okay, thanks everyone for waiting. Is there a motion to return to regular session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to return to regular council session by Mr. Gorman, second by Mr. Merkel. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're back in regular session now. Thanks again for waiting. On old business, we have none tonight. There is, again, I'm going to deviate a little bit from the agenda, and I'm going to turn this over to Martina for the next item.
Yeah, so I just have a request, Mayor, and that's to add 2 resolutions to the agenda this evening. The first is Resolution R324-21, approving the city manager's designation of qualified administrative officers of the city to perform the duties and functions of the city manager in the city manager's temporary absence or disability.
Is there any questions or comments on this? This is a formal succession.
Yeah, I move to amend the agenda to add 21.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made to amend the first resolution to the agenda by Mr. Henning, second by Mr. Gorman.
I'll move for approval of the resolution.
Second.
Well, we have to wait till it comes on the agenda. It'll be later. And then the second is to request Resolution 32422 be added. That's a resolution pursuant to Charter Section 12.05, authorizing the city manager to perform the duties of the Director of Development.
Move for addition to the agenda.
And second.
Second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Merkel to add 22 resolution to the agenda, second by Mr. Gorman. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, both of those resolutions are added to our agenda, so thank you. Okay, so now we're back on track. And under new business, we have now 6 resolutions. Will you read the first resolution?
Resolution R03-2417, a resolution approving the countywide 911 final plan as approved by the countywide 911 Program Review Committee.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve the resolution as written by Mr. Gorman, second by Ms. Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let the record show that that resolution passed unanimously. Will you read the second resolution, please?
Resolution R03-2418, a resolution approving a new collective bargaining agreement with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, setting forth the wages, benefits, and terms and conditions of employment for sergeants within the Clayton Police Department for the period April 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2026.
And this was the executive session that we just had, so is there a motion to?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve the resolution as written by Mr. Merkel, second by Mr. Bachman. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let the record show that that resolution was approved unanimously. Will you read the third resolution, please?
Resolution R03-2419, a resolution repealing resolution number R02-2415, which authorized the 5-year lease to purchase one 2024 Ford Interceptor utility SUV for use by the police department from Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc. at a total cost of $60,600 and replacing with the current resolution R03-2419.
Is there any questions for the chief or for city manager on this one? This was already approved.
It was. So council approved the purchase of a 2024. By the time we got everything over to the company, they no longer had 2024s, and we have to get a 2025, which we'll still get this year, or should. Yeah.
So the year of the vehicle on this ordinance is a 24. Should it be 25 or does it not matter?
It says 25 later on.
Yeah.
Look down in the.
Okay, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve the resolution as written by Mr. Henning, second by Mr. Farmer. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let the record show that that resolution is unanimous also. And will you read the fourth resolution, please?
Resolution R03-2420, a resolution authorizing the purchase of Marks radios for use by the fire department at a total cost to the city of $15,619.68, and to further approve amendment of the previously authorized 5-year capital improvement budget with respect to same.
Chief Garver?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you, we're asking for the approval to purchase 8 mobile radios. They're replacing radios that are 20 years old now. And this was in the capital improvement for 2025. At the end of 2025, these radios will no longer be allowed on the system due to some upgrading with encryption and some other technology. So we had it in that budget. And so a grant came about this year that we applied for, and we were able to get it. So what I'm requesting is actually to take, we had $20,000 in the CIP this year for grant purchasing for rescue tools, moving that money and using it for radios, and then look at grant purchasing for next year for those same rescue tools. So we're just swapping years. And the nice thing about these radios, when we quoted it out, it's like $43,000 some change. So we get about $27,000 savings, and we're only out $15,000. And it was still something that we needed to do. We're just moving up a year where there's funding available.
Any questions or comments for Chief?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve the resolution as written by Mr. Merkel, second by Mr. Gorman. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I just have one inquiry, Chief. Did the collaborative as a whole get these, or did some entities already have new ones?
No, so everybody, even with the collaborative, since it's only been 4 to 5 years now, everybody's still on different cycles for equipment and apparatus. So we were one of the first ones to switch to the 800 system back in 05 and 06. When we bought these radios, I mean, that's when they were purchased, was actually 05. So they last, and they're still actually in decent shape. They're just not able to be upgraded to the next system, and usually we don't keep radios for more than 20 years anyways. So even if there was an option for upgrade, it's kind of expensive, and now you're investing quite a bit of money in 20-year-old technology. So we thought it was a good idea to put in for this. And the actual grant funding, the actual dollars was like $10,000, but with that comes statewide or Mark's pricing, which was almost like half the cost, so which we normally cannot get. So combine the pricing and the funding that they gave us, that's where we got the $27,000 in savings.
Awesome, thank you.
So I think we've had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let the record show that is unanimous. No, he doesn't get double money. Okay, will you read the next resolution, please?
Resolution R 03-2421, a resolution approving the city manager's designation of qualified administrative officers of the city to perform the powers, duties, and functions of the city manager during the city manager's temporary absence from the city or during disability.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve the resolution as written by Mr. Henning, second by Ms. Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let the record show that resolution passed unanimously. And will you read the sixth and final resolution, please?
Resolution R 03-2422, a resolution pursuant to Charter Section 12.05, authorizing the city manager to perform the duties of Director of Development.
Any other questions or comments for the city manager on this?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve the resolution as written by Mr. Bachman, second by Ms. Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let the record show that resolution also passed unanimously. Okay, we are going to move to the next item on our agenda, which is the city manager's report.
Just a
Amanda?
couple items for you this evening. I will try very hard not to cough through this entire report. First and foremost, I'm sure that some of you have seen that there are signs up on Winger Road at the bridge in front of St. Paul's about the road being closed from 4/1 to 5/31. That is a county project. They are replacing the bridge. Randy, our service director, attended a meeting, I believe it was Monday, or it was earlier this week, along with Inglewood's road superintendent and then also transportation from Northmont City Schools about the best way to get around that. But that is a project that's being spearheaded by the county, and they're replacing that. So the road will be closed from 4/1 to 5/31 for that bridge replacement. We have been having some issues with robocalls here at the city building where our front desk people will pick up and there will be no one there because it's a robocall. Our phone system does allow for us to do an automated answer. So it would basically say, thank you for calling the city of Clayton. If you'd like to be connected to the front desk, please hold. And then that will weed out all of the robocalls. So we're not spending time answering 10, 20 of those a day. So we're going to probably put that, the plan is to put that into place probably starting next week. So it'll just alleviate some of the headache and all of the robocalls that we're getting. I would like to, two things. One, you'll see in your packet that the MVRPC annual dinner is April 18th. That is also our second meeting in April. Would like to request a work session for that evening to discuss the Hoke and Winger Road project. We should have phase 2 plans by then, and I think it would be a good opportunity to give council an update on that project. So my recommendation to council would be to not cancel that meeting to attend the dinner. It would be to be here for the work session, but I will leave that up to you. So if I could get some direction on that, if you would like to attend the dinner or if you would like to hold the work session.
I would prefer to have the work session.
I would prefer to have the work session also.
Okay. Okay, so I would like to schedule a work session for April 18th at 6:30 and have our engineer come in and talk about the Hoke and Winger project.
Amanda, quick question.
Yes.
I attended the Soil and Water meeting over the Janice Ward Center. They said that they were going to have a second meeting in April, another hearing. Do you have a date on that?
Is it the 20? It's the 21st. Okay, the 21st, and I'll double check that with Soil and Water, and I will send that out to council. We did hold our fact finding for the public service contract on March 13th. It went well. The fact finder will have a report for us by April 1st, and then we will need to, or council will need to consider that by April 4th. We have a period of 7 days, from April 1st, to have that considered. So we will have that for you then. And then finally, the Safety Town Open House. If you'll recall, back in May of 2023, City Council made the decision to donate $500 to help fund Safety Town for the children in Northmont City Schools. Northmont will be holding a Safety Town Open House on April 15th from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. at the Kleps Early Learning Center Gymnasium, and you are all invited, and the invitation is attached to your report. And that is all I have for you this evening.
Any questions or comments for the city manager?
I have a couple items.
Okay.
I've kind of several conversations in the past. In the last meeting, I was asking about Windsor development and their lack of activity at North Clayton. Has there been any update to what they might not be doing?
So the last conversation, the last email I received, which is probably about 2 weeks ago, they are planning on submitting for the May Planning Commission meeting. We have not received anything yet, but that is what I was told.
When's the deadline for them submitting plans for?
Do you know off the top of your head, Alan, when that deadline? It would be sometime in early April. Yeah, it would be early April.
Okay. Along with that, the TIF that exists for North Clayton, when does that TIF expire?
It's a 30-year TIF, and it was set up in 2005, so relatively soon. Yeah.
Okay. It's just from the standpoint of if they're approaching the end of the TIF period, that they're dragging their feet. They've had the property for 4 years and haven't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
The impact of them coming back and asking for an extension of a TIF, essentially at this point in time, would be kind of questionable, but this is jumping ahead of the game.
It is.
My next item is, I would like to have, I guess I should say you and Martina examine the potential for reviewing the area that's north of 40, to review the potential for drafting that into being, or how we can make it into that which was proposed 28 years ago, but not put in writing, to essentially formalize it as far as a document that says this is what thou shalt not do. Since this was a part of my original concern and argument that there was no written documentation that firmly put it in place, that let's put into writing as far as what is to be done or not done north of 40. And I guess the question of whether or not what can be legally done.
Are you looking for then a prohibition on all building and
Well,
development north of 40?
I think that might be one of those things, what can be done, what cannot be done, and then let's sit down and talk about it. There were a lot of comments were made at public sessions, and I think those comments and concerns should be brought into this as far as what can and can't or is not wanted. This way, at least it gives a starting point for a firm understanding of what that area is not desired to be. So there's no misunderstanding between what's done in the past, what's currently here, and what might be present here in the future. And then, we can sit down and have a work session as far as how to approach this going forward. And if there's a need to formally adopt an ordinance, then let's get it done and have it on the books.
Okay.
I agree with what you're asking for, Greg. I think it would have probably, if we would have had such a document, probably would have made everything a lot easier. But, it also stretches beyond that because, there's a lot of planning and research that has been done, like in the Plan Clayton document, would have to be examined also at the same time.
Well,
so.
this is the part, everything was based on what was promised but not written down. So persons are going to base their comments on basically what they have information in front of them. And I think this potentially, if it means going back and reviewing the Plan Clayton document and amending it, well.
Well, I think the first step is we need to look at the legality of whether or not we're able to prohibit people on their own property from coming to the city to request a zone change.
Oh, no,
And I
I'm
think,
just-
I think that's where we need to start. And then we can go from there.
Well, just, I'm going back to the comments that people made as far as what those comments were and how those fit into this whole big picture. So it's not one person's making a decision for everybody. So I just want a starting point so we can move forward.
Fair enough. Anything
I
else,
would have to
Amanda?
ask also, Amanda, are we going to have a workshop or conversation in regards to budget cuts? Since obviously issue 5 didn't pass, are we going to discuss that impact?
So we are. So I met with staff on Wednesday morning, and we had a discussion about stopping with no discretionary spending. We're not traveling for trainings, anything like that. We're leaving all of the positions open, including the development director position, so I'll fill that role. And then we're going to talk about, amongst staff, starting with staff, about what the next steps could be if we want to present to council the idea of putting it back on the ballot in November and what that would look like. But in the meantime, in between now and the date that we have to have it certified to the ballot in August, yes, we'd like to have conversations with the council in between there.
Okay. Yeah, I guess if you could just keep us in the loop, because I think we need to obviously be aware of what the next steps are, so.
Anything else for the city manager? Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, which is our visitors' comments. And I have the sheet that everyone signed in on. I think I only got one sheet. I think that got everybody. And a couple people said yes, and most people said no, but I'm going to go ahead and give everyone a chance to say yes again if they want to. And it had to be the first one. I hope I don't butcher your name again. I'm so sorry. Gloria Van Fonstock?
Stuttering, I know it's me.
Be the only one. That's a long name.
Just think of
Thank
two
you.
baby deers, Faunastock. Gloria von Faunastock, 10831 Putnam. Hi. On the issue of that, I don't know how up to date the online site is, but I know that the plan, I may get the terms wrong, but I think it was the product manager or the production, whatever, the 2022 was the last one that's in there. The annual plan our annual program. I should have written it down, but it's on your website. It goes up to 2022, and it covered a lot of things that had been done. Like, it was like annual report. That's what it was, annual report. Did Mr. Coons leave before that was done for this last year, or is that going to be done for 2023?
I'm pretty sure Jack did do one for 2023. We can get it and put it up.
Okay, that would be great, because we've been looking through stuff on there. Anyway, I just want to say thank you, and thank you, Mr. Merkel, for saying that, and hopefully we will have an opportunity to be part of that conversation when you guys start to do the talking about stuff like that, so we know what's going on from the get-go, so we know what you're putting in, and maybe give you our input, suggestions, and by all means, if you need help, because you're short-staffed, there's maybe legwork and stuff that we can do for you. And we're happy to do so. I don't know that we're qualified or trained, but we're here to help, okay? So anyway, overdone. This is the end of the beginning. We're not going to leave you. We're going to continue to provide whatever support we can as citizens and be one team, one fight, one community. But we're also extending that. It's going far beyond Clayton. We can't live with blinders. We've got Union, Brookville, Perry Township, all the other people. And one thing this whole thing has done is it has brought everybody out. It's woken everybody up. And so you're going to start seeing probably other people from other communities come to your meetings, and we're going to start going to other meetings, and nobody's going to live in a blinder. And this piece of property, they might have this plan, but these people don't know about that, and you might know more as city planners talk to each other. But we as citizens have vowed that we're going to go out and we're going to seek out information so nobody's blindsided and people aren't working on the same thing. We're saving costs. We're doing things. And I do believe that there's a lot of things like the Easter egg hunt and other things that we as citizens can volunteer to do. And we can have our scouts. We can have youth group. We can have other agencies. We can put those on without a cost to the community, and we can be more engaged and more involved and bring people out. So that's our promise to you, is we're here to help. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And Chris? Nope. Okay, thank you. Ellen Snyder? Nope, thank you. Is it Katrina Anderson? Katina Anderson? Come up and I'll ask you to say your name and your address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Katina Anderson. It's Katina. And actually, I'm a representative from the Chosen Church. We're new here in the community. Our address is 295 East Salem Street. And basically, our pastor wanted me to actually come to the meeting today to see what we can do to help the community, kind of point us in the right direction, maybe let us know how we can help, what we can do to assist in any kind of way, is basically why I'm here today.
So I would say probably the first step would be if you would leave your contact information or your pastor's contact information, and one of us will be in touch.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate the offer.
Thank you so
Welcome
much.
to the community.
Thank
Yeah,
you. I
welcome to the
appreciate
community.
that.
And Earl right there also.
Thank you. Christy Cox? Alicia York? Rose Plummer? Joe Plummer?
Plummer, 11415 Old Mill Road. Yes, well, I was in front of the golf course during the elections, and I noticed a lot of the handicapped people had a hard time going from the parking lot into the building. I was hoping you guys could look at that. But when you go into the building, under the awning, there's a big area of grass for the turnaround. I don't know if we could clear that out and put handicap parking right there, because some of the people really struggled getting from, the main parking area into the building itself. Just an observation, and I hope somebody can look into it before November. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jeremy Blanford?
I'm Jeremy Blanford, 10801 Haber. First, I want to thank you guys and gals for giving us the opportunity to put this to ballot. We knew we had support going in. We had no idea the support that we had behind it. And we as a community hope that each of you saw and heard our voice. Secondly, issue 5. A lot of you know I was a proponent of it, an outspoken proponent. It didn't pass by 133 votes. Now, if this goes to November, you're going to have a bigger voter turnout. Throughout all of this, you know, the 12 hours I stood at the polls on Tuesday, and then talking to individuals one-on-one or either online, there's a big elephant in the room, and it was the most common topic brought up, and it's something that you guys are going to have to address if you want to get this passed, and that's Meadowbrook. A lot of the residents are tired of putting money into it. People were asking, they're talking about taking a school resource officer out of the school because they have to be a road deputy. Okay, but yet we just gave that salary to backstop Meadowbrook. And a lot of people are sitting there scratching their head saying, you want me to do this? I'm all for it. It's going to save me a load of cash. But I'm one of the only ones on Haber that was for it because it's going to cost others. So if you want to sell this, you either have to be an Earl Shive salesman. Those of you that are old enough to remember, like, paint that car for $39.95. You're either going to have to become really good salesman, or you're going to have to start addressing some of the things and getting out in front of it between now and the November election. Because I don't see it passing even in November. I see it failing by an even greater margin unless people are getting answers. I don't know what that's going to entail because not everybody's on social media. And I would imagine probably about half the residents actually read what come in the mailbox. So I don't know if I wasn't able to make the town hall meeting for it. I wanted to be there, but I was under the weather. And I didn't want to spread the love. So I don't know if it's something you guys might want to think of, you know, ward to ward and come up with individual pocket town halls to discuss it and get the word out. However, but you're really going to have to get out in front of the voters, and there's going to be some tough questions that are going to have to be answered if we're going to get this passed. So I'm willing to help as much as I can. So, and as far as what you were talking about, Greg, if you need committee, I'm all in. There's a number of us that would be. We'd be more than willing to help and put things on paper, give information, feedback that we received from all the various wards, not just us. You know, this isn't a not in my backyard. We've talked about that. We're more than willing to help. So, because it takes a community to be a community. So, that's it.
Points well taken. Thank you, sir.
But if you look at the ballot, you'll find out which area didn't pass it.
Ellen Hogan? Nope. Thank you. Paulette Farmer? Thank you. Mark Alsobrooks? Nicole? Doug Bias?
Doug Bias, 10857 Haber Road. May I pass out a piece of paper to the council? On behalf of many of us with Keep It Rural PAC, the political action committee that we've created, I just want to state, while I'm extremely pleased with the results of this past election as it pertains to issue 4 in particular, I'm not here to gloat before you today. It's not my intention, or really any of our intentions, to be a thorn in the city's side just for the sake of being a thorn, or even a nuisance. I recognize the challenges that the city is facing and the tough decisions that each of you on the council have to make and are going to have to make, and I don't envy your positions. That said, I'm sure you all no doubt saw the results of the election, where 77% of the voters of the entire city, not just Ward 1, came out and overwhelmingly rejected this zoning change. This matches very well with what we've been seeing in our own groundwork and conversations with citizens. We found overwhelming support from citizens who live nowhere close to the rural parts, and even from many citizens who live in subdivisions and plats. They recognize the value and the character of the rural area, and many of them love coming up to the northern part of Clayton and driving through it. They also recognize the very real issues such a zoning change would have created, such as traffic, increased congestion in the local stores, and other infrastructure issues. On the paper before you is the breakdown of votes for each of the 10 subwards in the city. And as you can see, we got no lower than about 69% of the vote in our favor in any of the subwards. What's most interesting is looking at the data for Ward 3. This is the area of town that should care the least about what happens north of 40. Yet they came out and overwhelmingly rejected this zoning change as well. Hopefully, we have everyone's attention now. Whether it be the original merger meetings where people clearly expressed concerns about conserving the rural areas, the large attendance at the numerous council meetings over the last year, the signs all over the city, the shakeup of this council in the November elections, and now this most recent election, how much louder and clearer do we have to be? We gave you an opportunity to repeal the ordinance, and it was not because we had any concerns about how it would play out, but you stated that you wanted to see the results of the election, and now we see them. We've clearly demonstrated that people across the entire city recognize the value and importance of the rural areas. The city itself on its social media platforms has even highlighted the rural areas as a strength and asset. There have been couples who were highlighted as Citizens of the Month on the social media platforms who specifically stated they came to this area because it still had that rural feel. I myself am one such individual, as somebody who grew up in Huber Heights, lived in Oakwood, lived in Kettering. I chose to come here for a reason, and I work in emergency departments all across the Miami Valley. I could have chosen anywhere to live. My parents, my brother, they all live in Springboro. I chose to come up here for a reason. And I'm very happy to be a resident here. It was incredibly insulting to many of us when Mr. Mecker, the land acquisition representative from Arbor Homes, stood before all of us and said that Arbor Homes wants to be a part of our community, while laughing and smirking and jeering at the concerns that we raised. His claim that people don't want land or yards is just outright false. There are many people who would love to own land and build on it. There have just been 2 new houses built on sizable lots at Phillipsburg Union and Old Mill Road. And in fact, in one of these houses, the couple that lived there, they both commute to work in Columbus, but have chosen to live here. They see the value in our area. We've stated numerous times we don't completely oppose development. We still stand by that. But it needs to be done in a smart and consistent way. Coming in and proposing a radical and drastic change in the makeup of our rural area by cramming in condensed lots will never garner our support. Many in the city would like the city to complete any of the numerous projects it's already begun before moving on to yet another incomplete one. The Keep It Rural PAC is continuing to grow in size and momentum, and we are much more organized than we were even a year ago. We'll continue to fight to preserve the rural feel of the northern parts of the city, and will outright oppose any similar development. However, we don't wish to be an enemy of the city's government. And we would like to work with you all to help solve the issues. There have been others who have stated the same tonight. There's a win-win situation out there, a situation that is a win for the seller of the land, a win for the city itself as a whole, and a win for those of us that live in the immediate surrounding area. We intend to work towards finding that particular situation and hope to even work with the seller to find a mutually beneficial solution. And as such, we've already reached out to the sellers and hope we can all come together in this effort. Thank you.
Well said, sir. Thank you. I skipped over a name, not on purpose. Greg and Janice? No, it was not. I love the hat, actually. Okay. Dana York? Earl and Linda?
Earl Harlemert at 6420 Levine Court. I'm your Parks Director, and thank you for giving me a lane for the interim from our council to the council up here. Elaine's a great girl and things like that, and I'm hearing a lot about everybody wants to help. Well, we got a meeting on the 9th of April, and we're going to decide that we're going to need to go into our parks, pick up all the dead limbs and stuff. And we do this every year, and the reason we do this is for the guys that cut the grass, they don't ruin the lawnmowers. Very important to get that stuff up. Last year, I had the same thing. We went in the last part of April, started picking limbs up. I got 8 girls on my parks list, and out of the 8, we had all 8 come, but we only had 2 volunteers. We had, the year before, we had 10 volunteers. So when it's announced, Lane, and we get on the website and announce that we need people to help clean our parks. We've got 4 parks. We'd like to have some help. And I'm hearing a lot, everybody saying, we're going to help, we're going to help. So we'll see what happens on that. So anyhow, thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Earl, when you do that, can you specify, like, are they all done, is it all done on one day, or do you just?
Excuse me, okay, I'll answer. It's all done in one day. We usually start about 10 and we're done at noon. It's a 2-hour. When you have enough people, we go through. Oh, we break them up, yeah. You'll have like 4 people at a park, and we have a destination where we put them, put the limbs and all that out of the park, pick up rocks if you think the lawnmower's going to ruin the blade on a rock. We move it over, and we have bags. We'll have bags and everything else. Like I say, it's from 10 to 12, and it's all gone. Yes, sir. We don't need equipment. What we do is we pick it up, we drag it up with the bodies, we put it at a certain location, and the city of Clayton comes around, picks their bags up, because it'll be on a path. And they drive right down with their truck, throw it right on in, and away it goes. I've got a tractor, I've got a dump trailer. Yeah, we do. Yeah. The thing about it is we don't know exactly the date we're going to choose, because our meeting is the 9th. And we'll talk about when, and then we'll put it on the website. Right, Elaine? Can we put it on the website then? Okay, we'll put it on the website. And like I say, we have, right now, all of our parks we've got grants for everything we've done in these parks. And I'll tell you what, you can't go to another city and have finer parks than you got. They are nice. All the roads going in now are 10 feet wide, so if somebody falls, gets hurt in the park, our ambulance can go right to that person and pick them up right at that place, which is a great benefit to the city of Clayton. Things like that. So we've worked hard for the last 4 or 5 years doing this. Now Jack is over in Brookville, and I got Elaine, and I know Elaine will do just as good as Jack will. So it's just something, and you can always look at our parks. We are not being paid nothing. All of our stuff is volunteers. I've done this for 5 years, and it's all volunteer. And I'll do it for another 5 years or 10 years. That's how much I think about Clayton. Thank you.
Earl, just two things. Ma'am, your church, that'd be a perfect opportunity for the first thing. Two, you've got somebody right here who's a tremendous resource for you. She's got a connection to all the scouts in the area, and she can certainly put the word out, right, to the scout units, and that's what they do. They come out into the community, and you could say, on this day we're meeting, and volunteer hours, and just think outside
Right.
the box.
If we got the volunteers, it's only a two-hour thing. And we're super appreciative of doing it too, of having you help us and that. And since she's a newbie here, I'll get to know her a lot better, and we'll get her working a little hard for us too, so. Thanks again, people. Thank you. Thank you.
Earl, are you allowed to wear hats this day?
Hold it. Yeah, you gotta wear a hat.
And sunscreen.
Thank you, sir. Sherrill Cooper? Jarrell Cooper? Jarrell's not a student, is he? Yes, he is. Oh, is he here for school? Yes. Well, then you have an obligatory come up to the podium, Jarrell. You don't get to say no. We'll make it easy on you. We just want to know, state your name and your address, and just tell us why you're here.
Okay, my name is J. Cooper, 6407 Orange Drive, and I'm here on behalf of Northmont for my American government class. I just have to come and get this paper signed and attend the meeting.
I thought that was the reason.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for coming tonight.
We're
Thank
glad
you.
you're here. And we've seen quite a few of your classmates come through also, and we're always happy to have you. So.
No, really.
All right, you're off the hook. Thank you. That was all the names I had. Did anyone else want to speak? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on. Council and mayor's comments. We'll start with Mr. Bachman.
None to add tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Kelly.
I just want to thank Angie Clifford, Northmont Chamber of Commerce today. We had a collaboration with all the cities together, and we got announced the funding for the Bolt Center, $500,000 funded so far, and it's a great opportunity for Northmont and the proposal, but we need more funding, obviously, and I hope that happens. With that being said, she also included Windsor Development, being a huge proponent to donate the land or to receive land. So I don't know if Windsor is more into working with Trotwood, since they have bypassed the city of Clayton and the land, and they're moving on to Trotwood. I don't know yet, but time will tell. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Merkel.
Well, I think I said most of what I wanted to say earlier, but just to add to that, I want to appreciate everyone for placing your vote, even though it was not what I wanted to see. I appreciate the fact you took the time to go and vote and show an interest in what was happening in the community and let your voices be heard. I mean, that's the bottom line. What's important in this whole process. For me, it was important for the process to run its course. The charter was written in a way to allow the citizens to have an opportunity to voice their objection when the council did something. And it was important to allow that process to go through, even if it wasn't, the way necessarily the council wanted to see it go. But it had to happen that way. And the next course of this has to be moving forward to make things happen. That was my reason for my suggestion that we sit down and essentially address the issues that came up last month, last year, and moving this issue item forward so we know where we're at in the future in terms of what happens. And when you sit down and talk about things, nobody always gets what they want, but we have to come to a middle ground where it's mutually understood and accepted for persons how we're going to do this. Otherwise, nothing happens. And when that happens, we all fail. And that's not what I want to see happen. I want to see things move forward in a positive fashion. I want to see people be able to sit down and work together, even if we disagree. There should be some mutual respect for everyone, even their different opinions, to come to some ideas as far as how we do these things. And not only this issue, but things that we're going to be facing in the future, because it's important to make this community successful. And, that's the reason why I'm here. I mean, from the very beginning, that's been my bottom line as far as making the city successful. And you may not agree with me, but also people have an opportunity to have their voice in terms of what they want and don't want. So,
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gorman?
I'm sorry. I thought we'd start the other end. Excuse me, I just want to thank the chamber also for luncheon today and wish everybody a happy Easter.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Henning?
I'll start by thanking Angie and the chamber and adding to what Councilmember Tina Kelly said about the state funds that were granted to the Chamber Foundation's nonprofit wing that's now doing the Bolt Innovation Center. I think we as a community really need to press the state to fund that in the capital project. And anything that we can do to write letters of support, et cetera, if you hear anything, Amanda, I would be more than glad to participate just to help them out because I think it'd be such an asset to our community. I wanted to thank everyone here in the room tonight who worked so hard on issue 4. I obviously voted against it. I listened to the residents, and I think that the few council members that didn't is the reason why issue 5 didn't pass either. We have been saying that. I mean, and it's very unfortunate because the residents always say how much they support fire, police, service department. Councilmember Gorman and I tried to get the referendum off so the citizens wouldn't work against that. That didn't work. So all I can say is obviously that is going to have to lead to tough conversations for us on a council. But more importantly, I was happy issue 4 passed, and 70% of the city voted. I mean, it failed in every single precinct, like what was stated earlier. Wards 2 and 3 also that weren't impacted by it, but we heard nothing but, I heard nothing but residents stating their opposition for it for similar reasons that were stated as to they enjoy going out and driving that and seeing the rural land, et cetera. So I would be concerned with putting the income tax back on the ballot in November. I think we need to be considerate of Northmont, and Northmont didn't just put a levy on the ballot this primary election. I think we need to be in communication with them because if it goes on the ballot with the city, I would see them both failing again. So I would just have to say I hope that what the school board does and what we do kind of align with each other because we're going to have to work together. And finally, just have a nice Easter weekend. Hopefully the weather will be nice, and remember the reason for Easter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Farmer?
All right, just want to echo what Mr. Henning said. All those folks that worked on issue 4, I really appreciated that. For obvious reasons, I was reflecting July 20th of last year. I stood at that podium and introduced what became issue 4. And Lord, I know the whirlwind that would happen after that, but it wasn't the margin of victory that got me out of it. It was the pervasiveness of the consistency of across the board. It was anywhere from 68 to 95% against this ordinance. So that should be a message to us. Regarding issue 5, I'd make an offer about many of the residents I talked to. I think that being willing to vote on the tax would have done better if we had done our due diligence in terms of a prioritized list and drew a cut line and said everything below this line is what you'd be getting back. That's what people would understand. Just in general terms, saying, well, you got to support police and fire, that's not a real selling point. You really need to show them the numbers, show them exactly what they're going to lose. And I've made the offer to work with council on that, and the offer still stands. I'll see what I can do to start crafting that, and probably do some trial runs with some residents to see how that goes. Regarding Meadowbrook, I will say, Mr. Blanford, you're exactly right. That is an albatross around the city's neck. It was mixed messaging. You'd see an advertisement, yes, on 5, and then you'd see advertising for jobs at Meadowbrook. It sent mixed messages. It was inconsistent messaging. You know, that as a resident looking at this, that would have just sort of turned me off. It didn't make sense. But I think Meadowbrook has a lot of potential for our community, especially when we have volunteers that want to step up and beautify the place. I do think something maybe the council needs to reconsider, that I think many residents do not have a vested interest in Meadowbrook. And we kicked our legs out from under ourselves canceling all the community events there. That is how residents will feel that they have a vested interest in Meadowbrook. Now, I don't know, I would like to see what the cost is for each event. Maybe we can replace staff with volunteers. There has to be some workarounds. Mr. Harmon, I understand you were in the grocery industry. You probably get all kinds of you get all kinds of candy for these events, I'm sure. So there are a lot of ways that I think we can make it a good community center, but we're going to have to get creative and innovative in how we do that. Let's see. And I think, last thing, Mr. Merkel, I do appreciate you offering up the discussion about north of 40. I think that'll be a great discussion to have with residents. And I think it will be a long discussion, particularly with playing Clayton. I think there's much of that in there that I read it and was quite shocked. And it was like, okay, I was asleep at the wheel too long. And now I'm sort of coming out of it, seeing what was there. There's some history of the area north of 40 that I don't think was taken into account. And it'd be great to do some modifications to capture that. So that's all I've got tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. I'll make mine quick. I also want to make a comment on both issues. On issue 4, first of all, you all know how I voted. I've held nothing back on saying that, you know, I see my role as to try to progress us. And I'm not really surprised that it went down the way that it did. I do want to say that your PAC did it right. You did a good job. You know, you organized and you advertised and you got out there, and there was actually a lot of action, and I think that's what did it. So I think you all did a good job on that. I also agree with Mr. Merkel. I'm glad that he brought that up, because the discussion can't be that, you know, whether it's legal or not, to me is obviously it's an issue, but it's not the only issue. The big issue is we don't want to shut down any area of our city for any kind of development. But obviously this wasn't the right development for that area. So I am open to the discussions of making some other guidelines that we have out there. You know, I've heard a lot of discussions, or suggestions, I should say, over the past 6 months or so that you folks have been in here, and we can take that into consideration. And maybe it's 5-acre tracts, you know, maybe it's 10-acre tracts, whatever it is, to make it more, you know, fit better into the land out there, appease you, and appease the council and the process up here. So I am open to that. I think it's needed. It would have been a lot easier and better for every one of us in this room and everyone if we would have had that to begin with. You know, if there's no development up there, it should have been stated, just like Greg said. If it's 5-acre tracts, then that's a clear guideline for us to go forward. I think it's a big mistake to say 0, because then all of a sudden, what if someone wants to build a barn? You know, we say, no, you can't build anything, you know, you can't build a house. So, yeah, no one's saying that, I get that. But again, that's the way sometimes things happen. So hopefully we can start that, and in the process, close the divide here, because that's what's hurt me the most. It's really not the development. The truth is, I wanted the development to go through. I'm not super disappointed, because if we can come out a stronger community, and that's across the community, then the whole thing really has been worth it to me. It may not be to you, because I know it's been a lot of work, on your part. But I think it's important that we come together as a community after this and decide what is that area out there. It's a great area. I mean, I grew up sort of in that area. It was rural when I lived on Hoke, not so rural now. So anyway, I just hope we can all move forward from this. And again, I wanted to say I think you did it the right way. I disagree with Kenny that we wanted to keep the levies on. I think it's very important, and this, everyone's seen this. I can read and I can interpret what the numbers mean, and it does warrant a really deep discussion and altering whatever documents that we have if that's needed. So, on the other issue, on issue 5, I'm really sad about that, because money is what runs the city. And unfortunately, we don't make widgets and sell widgets, so we can't up the price to make more money. And the only way that we get money, we do get money from grants, of course, but the only way that we get money is from taxes. And Clayton's taxes have been low. They've been 1.5. I understand the 50%, credit, reduction and all that. I live it every day. But this is one of the projects that we need to come together as in the next time that we put it on, if it's November or whenever it is. I think it's very important that we get this thing fixed. I think you've heard me say before, since I've been the mayor in 6 years, I've taken way more calls at tax time on that 50% reduction than anything else, including the Keep It Rural movement. I mean, people just hate this thing, and I do too. So this would help us get that off of there, and get us into where we should be tax-wise. No one's for taxes. Not one person in here wants to pay more taxes. But 2.5, if you look across the board, in our region, there's some that are cheaper, but it puts us right in the ballpark of where we should be as a growing city. We're not a shrinking city, and we're not a stagnant city. We're going to continue to be a growing city. We've got other things, going on right now that are helping to grow the city, and we just need to focus on that, getting that income tax up. So we hope we can count on you for that. I went out and spoke to Mr. Blanford at his house. I took some signs out, and I was very grateful that he and others out there supported it. So we'll be asking for your support again for that. The last thing I want to say, just like every meeting, I want to say thanks to our staff, to our council. You guys, again, for a city our size, I think do an incredible amount of work and an incredible quality of work. So we need to keep that up. This is the issue 5 was a little bit of a blow for us all. I imagine these guys in the staff, were kind of down a little bit for a minute, but they'll rebound, and we're going to continue on. We're not going out of business. We'll figure this thing out, and we have the right people that will do that. So again, I appreciate all the residents, appreciate all you folks coming in. I do hope that as time goes on, that you'll keep coming back, because in the past years, we've had 0 people in the audience, and when that happens, that's when you get blindsided by things. And I'm not being, fickle about this. You need to come and you need to be involved and talk to your representatives, and let's try to get this thing together and rolling forward as one community. So anyway, that's all I've got. I appreciate everybody. Tim?
I move for adjournment.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Gorman, second by Mr. Henning. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?